Damian, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with my brain. I can't somehow calculate how 2 hours difference between me and you means four here and six there. But my bad, man. How are you?
I know you are good.
Let me.
I'm all right. How you doing?
Yeah. I'm doing good, but my goodness, my brain is having problems today. Uh we are recording. I just checked that. So, tell me a little bit about you.
Okay.
Where you live, what's going on in your life?
Um, I live in Detroit, Michigan. My name is Damian. I'm a mental health care worker, so I work with the mentally ill. Um,
Mental health care worker. What does that mean? Educate me.
hey, I think I'm gonna just go in the house because I was gonna sit in the car, but my connection would be better in the house.
Yeah, that's true. So while you're doing that, tell me, well, maybe I won't ask that until you're in the house. Detroit. That's
Hold on. Yep. Detroit, Michigan. Yep. I know it's gonna be better with the Wi-Fi and everything.
yeah, I'm sure.
Okay. So I just actually got down to
Well, and the other advantage too is that if you're on your phone, I get a portrait shot, and if you're on your computer, it'll fill in the screen a little better.
all right, there we go. It's a little better. Wow.
Yeah, you're definitely bouncing on me right now. The Wi-Fi should do better on your computer.
Right, there we go. How we look now?
You're a little bouncy in the video. Did you turn your phone off?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You're still portrait. That surprises me a little bit.
Wait a minute. Maybe this way, maybe.
Yeah, that's better.
That's better.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you turned the camera on your computer that way.
Oh, I don't. My computer's at my mother's house right now.
Oh, okay. You're
I'm
still on your
actually,
phone.
yeah.
Got it. Detroit, man. I've never been there. Tell me about Detroit.
Um, mm, it's a different kind of place. It's a city. It's kind of small. It's big, but it's small at the same time. It's like, if you know, it's one of those like if you know type of type of places. Like you'll just have to know. It's kind of hard to explain.
Yeah. Prop up your camera a little bit so you're more in the middle of the screen.
Right
Let's
there.
let's center you and make you look. Yeah, that looks pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm gonna adjust me so I'm closer to you, and then maybe I can crop the video and get both of our faces a little better.
Okay.
So you're a member of the dad's group. Tell me about
Mhm.
that.
Well, when I first had my son, um, me and my son's mother, well, still, but me and my son's mother were going through a lot of issues, and I didn't really know how to exactly go about handling them. Like, I didn't really know how to step, so I kind of reached out to different avenues just to try to get some tips and some advice, and I ended up coming across the dad's rights. page on Facebook. You know what I mean? Just to see the different situations and scenarios and how other people handled those, you know what I'm saying, scenarios. Because I didn't really know what to do. You know, it's when you have a kid, I didn't realize it, but when you have a kid, you know, and as a dad, you know, as a man, you know, we don't really, they say it's equal rights, but it's not. You know what I mean? Like they say that we have equal rights, but we don't. You know, we're not heard as much as a woman would be heard.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, I saw where you have as your Facebook main primary picture,
mm-hmm,
picture of your kid sleeping.
mm-hmm.
And how old is he?
He'll be 2 in January.
2 in January.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a place in your heart.
Yeah,
What does he mean to you?
everything, everything, like everything. You know, I didn't know that I could feel the way I felt about anything, let alone, you know what I mean? Like I didn't know what unconditional love felt like until I seen my son for the first time. You know,
Nice. Tell me
he
about
changed,
that.
he changed my whole life. Like he changed the way that I do everything. He made me really open my eyes and really think about things more and think about the future more. You know, he really like he just changed me. He changed me all in all together. And I can say that he definitely made me a better person. He definitely made me a better person.
Unconditional love from day one. What were you feeling when you saw him that first day, maybe the first moment? What did that paint that scenario for me?
Well, it's actually a funny story because me and my son's mom, um, we like, oh man, it's the whole situation like is crazy. But the day my son was born, um, a day prior, me and my son's mom got into like a really big, you know, we got into a fight, and like I was sleeping on the couch, like we weren't really talking to each other. And I remember she came into the living room and said, you know, I'm not really feeling well. I think we might need to go to the hospital. So I remember asking her like, you know, do we need to take the bags or? And she was like, well, let's just take them, you know, just in case. We never know. So we ended up going to the hospital, and originally they said that they were going to keep us overnight just to monitor us because my son's heart rate was dropping. So that was the first mindset, like, okay, we're gonna be, because his due date wasn't until, well, not his due date, she had a scheduled C-section date for like 2 weeks after that.
Right.
You know, so when we got to the hospital, they was like, well, you know, we're gonna keep you overnight just so we can monitor, you know, monitor her and monitor the heart rate, you know, our baby's heart rate and everything. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. So then his heart rate dropped again, and they came back in there and they was like, okay, we're gonna get the doctor on the line to see, like, her doctor, you know, to see what's really going on. So when her doctor came in, they said, well, stay here overnight. We're gonna do the C-section at 8 o'clock in the morning. So I was like, oh man, you know, in my head, I'm like, oh man, I'm having my son in the morning, you know. 10 minutes later, 10 minutes go by, my son's heart rate dropped again. The nurses came back in and said, you know what, never mind, scratch that. We're getting ready to do the C-section in 15 minutes. So I literally had 15. I mean, you know, I had 9 months to prepare, but I really had 15 minutes to like mentally prepare for, I'm getting ready to have my son, you know. So um they took her out, they prepped her for the C-section, and I remember calling my mom, and I just telling my mom like, you know, it's happening, like, you know, it's getting ready to go down. And I had a baby like pretty much in COVID, you know, during COVID. So
Right.
that was a big thing too. Like it couldn't be a lot of people at the hospital. It could only be like one person, you know what I'm saying, at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So I called my mom and I told my mom, you know, this is happening. Like, you know, what's going down. We about to have a baby. And 10 minutes after that, they came in and they said, Dad, you ready? And I remember the first thing I said was, not really, but what we gonna do? You know, what we gonna do? So
Can't
we
shove
went
it back
in.
in.
Yeah, we went in, and When I first walked into the operating room, first thing I seen when I walked into the operating room was her stomach like wide open.
Oh,
You know, for dads that was there and actually witnessed a C-section, like they'll know exactly what I mean when I say, you know, wide open. So I walked in, I seen that, and they sat me in a stool that was like right next to her, and there was a blue tarp in between like her like head up and
hmm,
then shoulder down. It was like a blue tarp in between while they were operating on her. And I remember talking to her and I apologized to her for the argument that we got into. That was just like the first thing that came to my mind. Like, I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Like, it don't
right.
matter who was right, who was wrong. I'm sorry. So that was that. And then I say like I maybe talked to her for maybe 2 or 3 more minutes, and then I heard my son like that first cry. He let out that first cry. I instantly start crying. Like as soon as I, peek my head across the tarp to look at him, I instantly start crying. It was just like a feeling of, for one, it was a feeling of relief because it's like I waited 9 months for this. You know what I mean? Like literally every day, 9 months for this one moment right here. So it was like a sense of just relief in general. Like, oh my God, it finally happened. You know,
Right.
and then it was just the happiest feeling. It was the happiest feeling I've ever felt, to the point where I couldn't like control my emotions. I started crying. The nurses, the doctors, everybody was asking me, like, are you okay? Are you going to be okay? Do you need to? I said, no, I'm fine. Just, let me let it out and then I'll be able to, you know,
Let me let it out. That's
yeah,
that's not words that men use very often.
no, especially now when you're talking about crying.
Right. True that.
Yeah.
So years go by. He's two now, you said.
He'll be 2 in January.
And is there a custody battle? Is there a divorce going on?
Um, well, we were never married. It's okay. I'll give it to you from the beginning.
All right.
So okay, let's take it back to when it started. So COVID came. They started talking about COVID February, like January, February 2020.
Hmm.
So I met. I knew my son's mother prior, but we never like we never we were just friends. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
Instagram friends, like social media friends.
Right.
So I seen her. I stopped in Applebee's to get a carry out from Applebee's, and I seen her in there, and we had this moment of, hey, isn't your name? It was one of those, and
Right.
it was like, yeah, and that's how we seen each other, and kind of kicked it off, from that. So that was in like February. Let's just say that was in February.
Right.
Um, they shut everything down and did the shutdown was in March. So during the shutdown, we spent a lot of time together.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like we spent a lot of time together. Like I ended up getting time off of work just because nobody knew what this COVID thing was yet. So I ended up getting time off of work till they figured it out. And yeah, we needless to say, we spent a lot of time together to the point where she ended up pregnant. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Um, so what is there a custody battle going on? Is that
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Uh, tell me what that looks and most importantly feels like.
Oh, it's the worst thing ever. I have my son's mother is bipolar, like diagnosed bipolar,
Uh-huh.
and she's also a narcissist, clearly a narcissist. Usually those run hand in hand with each other.
Uh-huh.
And like I say, I've been working in psych, mental health for 10 years. I've seen psych patients come in and out of the hospital with the same traits that she has. You know,
Let's go there for a minute and then we'll come back to this. I want to I know that we're kind of in this already, but let's go back to the beginning and tell me what you do for a living and what it means to you.
Well, like I say, I'm a mental health care worker.
Uh-huh.
So like I say, I work with the mentally ill. I just make sure as far as the job, as far as my career, I really just make sure that mentally ill clients, take them prescribed medications, make sure they stay clean, they attend groups and things like that. And in the beginning, in the beginning, I used to like it because I'm 28. I've been doing this since I was 18.
Uh-huh.
So in the beginning, it was cool. Like, it was something new. I was the youngest RCA at the job. So a lot of the clients, especially the younger clients would like more gravitate to me because they felt like, I was relatable to them in a
Right.
way. You know what
Right.
I mean? So it was in the beginning, it was fun. It was a good time, man. But after a while, it's like, too much of anything can become a problem.
So
You
is it
know.
one of those things where you're out on the streets finding your clients and taking
No, no,
care of
no.
them? Do they come to you or what?
I work in a facility.
Okay.
Yeah, I work in actual hospital.
Got it. They come to you.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's why you were mentioning that when you've got clients coming to you and you recognize um, psychological traits, now you
Hmm.
recognize them in baby mama.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, why do you think you didn't see that earlier when you were getting to know her?
Well, when dealing with a narcissist, you never see it until you see it. You know what I mean? Like when you deal with a narcissist, you never see it because you gotta like when dealing with a narcissist, um, it's like they know how to transform into whoever you would want them to be for that moment or to get something that they want, you know.
Okay.
So in the beginning, it was like we're just having a good time. You know what I'm saying? We're having a good time. We're it wasn't a lot of dating.
Hmm.
It was more time spent with each other.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because we couldn't date technically because everything was closed. You know
Mm,
what I mean? It was a lock. It
true.
was a shutdown. Everything was closed, so it was a lot of like carry out movie nights, but carry out of movie nights every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I have to say this same thing happened to me. My first wife knew what I was looking for. She made sure she looked like that, and then I got an education after I married her.
Oh yeah,
Um, so what did that do to you? Here you got this son now, and I'll let you use your words, but you probably love him as much as you love yourself. Uh,
yeah, of
what does
course.
that feel like for you?
The love for my son.
Yeah.
It feels like now I have a purpose. Like I actually have a purpose. Like I have something to. Not saying like I didn't have anything to live for prior, but like now I have a solid knowing of like I gotta be this way for him. You know what I mean? Like if I'm not this way for him, then I'm not fulfilling my duties as a father. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And we all want a purpose, man. I've spent most of my life looking for my purpose, and I'm guessing that most of us, 80-90% of us have no idea what our purpose is.
Right. That's true.
And if you got a purpose, man, you're ahead of the rest of us.
Yeah.
So he's your purpose.
That's what
And,
I think.
and I think I believe you. And so now you've got a purpose, and all of a sudden you've got her trying to say, you're not going to see him. What does
Mhm.
that look like? How does that, what's she trying to tell you and how does it feel?
Um how can I explain? It's okay. So when dealing with somebody with a mental illness,
Uh
you
huh.
know, it's like they can make up a story in their head and actually believe it.
Mm,
You know what I mean? So
I do.
yeah, so I had to kind of make my situation better. Like I had to make my create my situation myself as far as like how I get my son. Like now she'll say stuff like, "Oh, she really, to be honest, she just did it last week. You know, we had an issue last week. She picked him up because we're on the schedule to where I pick my son up on Monday from daycare, and then I drop him back off to daycare the following Monday. So we split weeks, like, we split
50
weeks.
50. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that came from her going to jail, actually. Like she went to jail for something that she did, and to me, of course. And while she was in jail, I kept our son the entire time. So when she got out of jail, my mindset was, well, that was like my first real test of being like full time, full time. So because prior to that, it was either like, excuse excuse me, we were together until our son was 2 months, and then I left. Because it was too much around him. And I didn't want him to grow up seeing that, because that would create a cycle.
Right.
So when I left, I told her that I would get him on all of my off days. You know what I mean? Like every day that I'm off, or every day prior to me being off, I will pick him up when I got off work, because I'm off the next day, and I won't have to wake up early and figure out who's gonna watch him while I'm at work. So I created, that was the schedule at first. But when she ended up going to jail and I kept him for that time while she was in jail, it showed me that, okay, this is, I can be a full-time father, you know? And she used to complain that I didn't get him enough, but I was getting him for 6 days. She was getting him for 7 days.
She was complaining that you weren't getting your son enough.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So after that, I said, okay, I'm going to eliminate that factor. You know what I mean? I'm going to eliminate you. I'm going to make it to where there is going to be impossible for you to say I don't get my son enough, because he's never been a problem with him coming with me. You know what I mean? Like I
Right.
actually want him full time, but we'll get to that. But I eliminated I tried to eliminate so she couldn't say that at all. So I told her, well, this is what we'll do. I'll pick him up on Monday. I'll drop him off on Monday. When I need somebody to watch him for me to like go to work or, do something, I won't call you for that. You know what I mean? Like I'll find my own childcare. You find your own childcare. That way we don't even have to too much communicate,
Yeah.
because it had gotten so toxic that it was hard for us to even communicate with each other, like have regular conversations with each other. You know,
Yeah.
so I
Been
tried to
there.
make it to where it's like we can have minimal as minimum conversation as possible.
Yeah. That's how I did it too. My best days right after the divorce were the days when I forgot that she existed. So I'm with
Yeah.
you.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
what was, let me ask, I guess, a couple of questions. What was the hardest moment of your life? And is that hardest moment also related to your son or your ex-wife?
The hardest moment of my life was having to come to the realization that me and my son's mom were not going to be together, and I wasn't going to be able to be like a full-time in-house father, like in-house family with my son and his mom.
What did that do to your head and your gut?
Oh, depression. Instant depression. Instant. I don't want to talk to nobody. I barely want to go to work, you know, but I have to go to work because I have to make the money to take care of them. I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to stay in my room and just let my thoughts just float around all day, basically. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
I think I do. So, how long did that last?
Um,
I'm sure
um,
it kind of ebbed over time, but how long was it that you really wanted to just be in your room in the dark alone with nobody?
I say maybe 2 months.
2 months.
Yeah, it was. I'll say about maybe 2 months because I left her in March. I'll say by maybe June, so maybe 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my birthday's in June, so maybe by June, by the summertime, it was like okay, because you got to think, man, like summertime, everybody wants to go have fun. It's everybody wants to go have fun.
Right.
She wanted to go have fun. So when she wanted to have fun, it was come get your baby. So when it started with that, that made it. I didn't really care why she wanted me to come get him. As long as it just wasn't it wasn't a problem for me to come get him. You know, no issue with
Right.
me.
Yeah. That was the hardest moment in your life. Who you said you wanted to be in your room, talk to nobody.
Mhm.
Who did you turn to?
Nobody.
Welcome to being every other man in the universe, dude.
Yeah.
We go to nobody.
Nobody. We handle our problems. We sit and we sit and we sit and we sit until we're tired of sitting and then we stand up. That's pretty much how it goes.
Yeah. How did that work out for you going to nobody?
Um. Well, eventually, the initial, I didn't want to talk to nobody.
Right.
And then when I felt up to having a conversation with somebody, I went and got therapy.
You,
You know,
when you wanted to have a conversation with somebody, say that again.
I went and got therapy.
Okay. I
Yeah.
think you would probably know a therapist or two, considering you're in that business.
Yeah, but I went and got professional therapy though.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because
And
those were like psychiatric, mentally ill, mental illness therapists. I went and got like you know, a
okay,
regular therapist.
that's good to know. How did that work out for you?
Um, it was okay.
Uh huh.
It was okay. It was okay to have somebody to tell my problems to, and they say, "Well, how are you gonna, how do you think you're gonna get out of this hole that you're in?" That was pretty much what therapy was for me. That was my experience of therapy.
Right.
You know what I mean? My experience of therapy was me lay all my issues out on the table, and then somebody asked me, "How do I think I'm going to handle those issues?"
Yeah. So for
So,
me, I had two guys that were best friends. And when it came time for me to do the divorce, and now all of a sudden I've gone from being in a house with a bunch of kids and it's always noisy to an apartment where it's not noisy at all. It's dead, stony, killer
mm,
silence. And that killed me.
really,
Uh, so I went to the two friends that I had, and these were friends that I would maybe go play racquetball with, or maybe go. I'm a nerd. One of them I'd go play chess with,
oh yeah,
and these are not guys who you go to and you say, "Hey, man, I'm having marriage issues, or I'm having relationship issues, or I'm dying here. I am melting because my life just completely changed and I can't handle it." Tried with one of them, and he didn't know how to help me, so I ended up leaving fairly quick, and yeah, didn't work out so well. But the reason why I'm saying all that is that's how I did it. Why? What friends did you even consider talking to, and did you, or how did it go?
oh yeah. I talked to my friends about it, but it wasn't. I didn't go to them for like advice.
Uh
You
huh.
know what I mean? I went to them for more of a update on this is what I got going on.
Uh huh.
You know what I mean? I didn't really look too much to them for like advice on, what do you think I should do? Because how my situation like most of my friends, they have kids. They have kids, so it's relate on the child aspect, but my situation in general was so much different that I knew nobody would know how to handle this thing. You know what
Right.
I mean? Like it's one of those things that you really just have to go through.
You can talk until you're green and they're still not going to understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless they and until they run into somebody that's like that, they're not gonna know, they're not gonna know exactly what I mean when I tell them what's going on.
Right. Yeah. So I think we're all guilty of putting ourselves in a cave where we don't allow anybody to help us. And at the same time, other guys are uncomfortable trying to help us if we go to them because none of us are used to helping somebody in that kind of
Right.
hole. Yeah. Um, so how did you deal with it? How'd you get out of the hole? Where are you at now?
Um, I had to come to the realization that every action doesn't deserve a reaction.
Hmm.
So now I ignore a lot now. Like a lot of the stuff is like I had to really catch on to her game, in a way. Like I had to really catch on to it. So what ended up happening is I started realizing that if I was to not say nothing at all,
Right.
like not respond at all, like I know what type of father I am. I know what type of person I am in general. Nobody can tell you who you are. The facts are, and especially if if you're doing what you're supposed to do as a father, nobody can tell you that you're not because the facts will show. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
So I think I do, and I want to see if I do. So let's say that she comes at you and says you're a bad father,
Uh-huh.
you have X, Y, and Z, you wear ugly hats, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Um, and so you're able to just look at her and go, no, I don't think I'm going to engage on that one. Is that how it goes?
Mhm. That's exactly how it goes. I look at it like because we don't have like, if it's a phone call, as soon as the volume gets too loud, I hang up. If it's a text message, as soon as the subject as soon as it turns disrespectful, I block the number.
Nice.
Yeah, like I had to like really learn how to. In the beginning, it was harder in the beginning because there were more emotions that were connected to the situation. Like we just broke up, just left her, just moved my stuff out the house, still have some stuff, at the time, still had some stuff in the house. So it's like I was still kind of emotionally tied to her in a way. Once I emotionally disconnected myself from the whole situation, like I say, I learned that every action doesn't deserve a reaction. Mentally, it got easier. Mentally, it got way easier.
I think you've helped a lot of guys with that whole with that sentence. Not every reaction deserves a reaction.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's not a skill set I have. If somebody's in my face screaming, uh, my emotions are gonna rise.
Mm-hmm.
And you're ahead of me in that game. Yours are not necessarily gonna rise, it sounds like.
Mm-mm. Because as soon as well, if you're put in that kind of situation where somebody is in your face screaming or something like that, if you raise your voice, you instantly lost because you're allowing somebody to have control over your emotions. You know what I mean? Us as men, we have to be stronger mentally. We have to be mentally stronger than to allow somebody to control how we behave. You know what I mean? Like as soon as you step out of line and as soon as you cross that barrier, it's like got him. You know what I mean? I got you mad now. You know what I mean? And that's something that I had to really, really learn though. It took a while. It wasn't like I didn't just wake up one day and was like, oh yeah, this is how I'm going to start treating all my situations. You know what I'm saying? It took a lot of those quiet nights. You know what I mean? A lot of those chilling, quiet nights.
And I think, us men and me especially are good at taking stuff and rather than fight, we stuff it down like a trash compactor. And
Yep.
then at some point it comes out when you don't want it to come out. You're basically vomiting all that stuff that you've compacted and you vomited at the wrong time.
Mm.
And then they start throwing words at you like you have anger problems. And, maybe if you start throwing fists and bust some sheetrock, now you've really lost. You might have lost your kids.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think what you just described is a gold mine of answer is you don't have to engage.
Mhm. No,
Yeah.
sometimes it's better. You got to know when to fold. You got to know when to fold.
And I want to say folding isn't losing.
Mhm.
It's walking away. It's choosing for yourself your own actions.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's the better. It's just the better decision. Because if you engage in it and you know, my granddad used to always tell me. He used to always say, "Stupid people play stupid games." You know what I mean? That was the old. That's the old saying they used to always tell me. Stupid people play stupid games. Like, you can't play stupid games if you're not a stupid person. You got to
Uh-huh.
leave those games for the stupid people.
Yeah. 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 The phrase that I grew up hearing once in a while was don't mud wrestle with a pig. You get all muddy and the pig enjoys it.
Yeah. That's a good analogy too. That's another good way to think of it.
Yeah. So um that's awesome. What were your motivations for coming onto the podcast? What were you hoping to accomplish?
If somebody was going through something similar like what I went through, you know, I would want them to maybe just look at it from a different way, you know. And like I said earlier, um every action doesn't deserve a reaction. And I didn't learn that until, afterwards. I didn't learn that until later down the line. I didn't learn that until, you know, a lot of things were done and a lot of arguments were had. And you know what I mean? Like I didn't learn that until later down the line. So maybe somebody that's going through the same thing that or not, maybe not the same, maybe similar, might be able to hear that and, know how to handle try a different way to handle their situation. It might make their situation better as well, because somebody might be able to relate. You never know. Somebody might have. There's a lot of narcissistic baby mothers in the world,
Right.
that use kids, that use children as pawns because, it didn't work out with the father. So now, a woman can't physically beat a man. I mean, it's just not going to happen. So
Right.
they use things to get to them. They use words, they use children, they use property. You know what I mean? They use these different things to get to men. So maybe if somebody was to hear like my story or my situation or how I handled it, maybe they'll be able to handle their situation and just come to get an understanding of exactly what they're dealing with.
Right. Yeah. Um, if and I think you've probably already answered this question, but how old are you right now?
28.
28. So the 28-year-old you talks to the 26-year-old you.
Mm-hmm.
What advice are you going to give him?
Wear a condom.
True that, man.
But that's number one. But you know what? Just go, just whatever happens in your life, you take it. Whatever happens in your life, you take it, you handle it, and you don't, the world, the sun is gonna go up and down every day, whether or not you had a good day or not. You know what I mean? So as long as you keep that in mind, it's like just don't let things get to you. You know, don't let things get to you. I don't too much regret having a son with my son's mom. I don't really regret it because I feel like it made me a better person.
Uh-huh.
Like, so if I would have had a kid with somebody else, not to say I wouldn't become a better person than how I was prior, but my situation, having a child with the person that I had a child with and dealing with everything that I dealt with made me a better person. So I wouldn't take it back, but I would more prepare myself for what was to come. So I could at least be a little bit more prepared for, you know, the
Yeah.
situation.
And I'm working in my mind still because you're the first one of the guys that I've interviewed that brought this up. You know, usually men will accept stuff and stuff it down, trash compactor style, like I mentioned.
Mhm.
You do it differently. You actually don't accept it. It doesn't go in. You're just saying no. You know,
Yeah.
shield. It bounces off. It drops on the floor. You don't have to compact it because it's not in there.
Yeah.
Um, that's awesome. Um, so hardest thing you've ever done in your life was realize that uh, you and he and she were not going to make it.
Hmm.
That's your hardest moment in your life.
That I could think of. Like when I realized that I wasn't going to have a family like how I envisioned it, and I had to like force myself to just come to the conclusion that it was over. It's not going to work. It doesn't matter what I do. I could be the best guy in the world. I could be the best husband, the best boyfriend, the best father. It didn't matter what I was going to be. It was not going to work out with her. Like
Right.
actually having to convince myself that that was the reality of the situation. Yeah, that was pretty much the hardest thing I ever had to do. That
Yeah.
was the
So
hardest time of my life.
I'm guessing you probably had a bit of a mental meltdown when you go, oh man, all this life that I had imagined in my head that I had built, that I thought I was building, it's all
Mm-hmm.
not happening. It's not going to happen. It's broken.
Mm-hmm.
And
I had a mental meltdown with my son. Like he was here. He was sitting up in his boppy pillow, and I was just like looking at him. And then that's when all the thoughts came and everything, and it was just like, wow, this is crazy. You know what
and
I mean? Like this is really crazy.
yeah, and then you said you were a zombie for 3 months. So here's
Yeah.
my question. That's your lowest point, and that is a very low point. I get that. Been there. Um, why was that a blessing for you?
Because I didn't want to be like that for forever. I didn't want to feel like that forever. So it made me create a different me almost because
Huh?
I didn't want to, I didn't want to continue to be down all the time. I didn't want to continue to be just like like you say, like a zombie, and just I didn't want to be like that because I'm prior to the whole prior to meeting my son's mom and having a kid and everything, I still am, but I was a very fun person. I was a person that you would enjoy being around. You know what I mean? Like I didn't want to be the guy where it's like, oh well, here comes Damian. He's gonna, you know what I mean? He's gonna mess the vibe up, or he's gonna come with his issues, or I just didn't want to be that guy. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So it's I had to figure something out. Like I
yeah.
had to figure something out.
You didn't want. Here comes Damian. There goes the party.
Yeah, I didn't want to be a Debbie Downer. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that.
So you changed your life. What was one thing that you decided you were going to change so that as a result of that, what does the new Damien look like that the old Damien didn't look like?
I don't argue.
Mm-hmm.
I don't argue. I don't argue. I don't go back and forth. I don't raise my voice. You know what I mean? I don't try to convince, or you know what I mean? I don't try to I just don't I don't if I feel like it's gonna be a problem, I completely shut it out. You know what I mean? Because I know the game. you know, dealing with her. Like I know her game. So it's like you're only gonna argue as long as I'm arguing back.
That's
You know what I
so
mean?
freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Damian, you are an inspiration, and I have gained greatly from talking to you, and I appreciate your time. You're the man.
Oh man, no problem. No problem. No
Yeah,
problem. I appreciate that too.
yeah. If any last shout out, maybe you got a business, maybe you got somebody you'd like to say hi to. What last words would you like to throw out?
Um, two things. I want to shout out my home girl. She's an artist. I always said that if I got an opportunity like this, that I would always shout her out. I've been knowing her since like sixth grade, maybe.
Uh huh.
Her name is Phil Casso. If you search Filcasso, like Picasso, but Picasso,
Uh huh.
he's Filipino, so you know what I mean. But I always said if I had an opportunity, I would always display her artwork. And my son Noah,
Noah.
yeah, Noah, my son Noah.
All right. Well, someday, 20 years from now, Noah will be watching this, and I hope he understands how much he's loved.
Yeah,
What a good
yeah.
dude he's got for dad.
Oh man, I appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
I'm going to cut it right here. So yeah, man, great job.
Oh yeah, no problem, man. If you ever need, like, if you ever, need another guest or anything like that, man, I'm always willing.
Well, I think that's entirely possible. You're a wise dude, and you have a viewpoint that the rest of us don't have. You got answers the rest of us don't have. So yeah, that's I've been known to interview a guy twice, and I could totally see that happening.
Yeah, just let me know. I'm always game for it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Have a good
All
one.
right, have a good one.